Representative Talarico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. Just want to, since we talked about 1957.
Yeah, we can talk about it.
The reason the voucher bill died in 57 is because Henry B. Gonzalez, a Democrat, filibustered for 22 hours to stop the bill from going to place. I also want to agree that I don't think the goal here is racial segregation in 2025.
Okay, good.
I agree with that. And this is not just me as a Democrat saying this, because Republicans and Democrats in the legislature oppose this voucher bill. Republicans and Democrats across the state oppose this voucher bill. Conservative Republican state senator, our colleague Senator Nichols, conservative Republican from East Texas, when he voted against the voucher bill in the Senate just a few weeks ago, he wrote in the Journal, "I truly do not believe the intent of education savings account is to promote segregation in any way, but the reality is that it will. The new form of segregation will be by income and ability, and it will be separate and inherently unequal." So this is not a Democrat saying that. This is our Republican State Senator Nichols saying this. I want to just double check I understand the fiscal note. I did go back. It was $7 billion in the next biennium. I think you're including some estimated savings for public schools. My point that I made earlier is that this could move forward where we don't have any students from public schools participating in this program because they're denied admission or they can't take access for all the reasons we've already mentioned. Is it true, Mr. Chairman, that the fiscal note is estimating that a majority of the voucher participants will be students that are already in private school?
It makes certain assumptions about the uptake and where those kids are now. And like I said, this bill doesn't make it doesn't distinguish.
But I'm saying the nonpartisan estimate, fiscal impact of this bill estimates that a majority of the students participating in this program will already be in private school.
Yes, some may be currently in private school, absolutely.
No. I'm not saying some.
Well,
I'm saying a majority. I'm saying, look right here. At least 65% of the participants in this program, according to your bill analysis, will be students who are already in private school right now. That goes up to 79% in 2028.
Well, and some of those are kids that are in that would fall over to the next year. You've got kids that are kindergartners that are moving in. I mean,
But
there's all sorts of potential decisions parents will make that will impact that.
Let me put it this way. Will a minority of users be students who are in public schools leaving the public school to go to a private school in this estimate?
That is their estimate. I
Okay.
think it remains to be seen what parents decide.
Okay, so that's
And,
why.
and if parents are as pleased with public schools as my wife and I were, then they won't choose to leave.
Right, and so taxpayer dollars that could have gone to the public school are now going to go to kids who are already in private school helping to pay their tuition. This is your estimate, or not your estimate, but this is the fiscal note that we have in front of us. So
And you're making an assumption that kids that are currently attending private school, or somehow we don't know what their experience had been in public school. We don't know why they're there. I think it was very important to me to make sure that parents that are struggling now, or any parent has access to receive an ESA. And if that's
fine. That's fine. I just want us to be transparent because we're talking a lot about helping kids in public schools go to a private school. Where in fact,
I'm talking about helping kids.
Sure.
I mean, I think that's the distinction, is that we've kind of got off into this deal where it's going to hurt public schools. Well, then nobody in public school can get it. But then if they do, there's no place for them to go. The reality is when you create a program of choice, you just give parents a tool to use to make that decision. And I know I keep saying that over and over again, but that's really the foundation of what this is built upon.
Yeah,
it is built upon that choice.
I don't think we're saying different things, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
okay.
I just want to make clear that $7 billion, instead of going to public schools, are going to go to subsidize tuition for parents who are already sending their kids to private school.
Well,
I'm just looking at the numbers.
Remember, those are not dollars that are currently in the system.
They could go to public schools, though, right?
They could go to roads. They
Sure,
could go to
that sounds great, too.
healthcare. They could,
So
we
instead of-
make those decisions, budgetary decisions, every session.
Exactly.
About where dollars go.
Exactly.
And last week we had a bill before this committee that I appreciate members that are already weighing in on it, but we're working on. We'll make the largest investment in public schools in the history of Texas, and we'll continue to work on that, and we can do both.
The estimate is that this will dwarf that number in just a few years that you're putting in HB2. But you're exactly making my point that we have a choice Instead of putting this toward public schools, roads, healthcare, water, we are sending it to parents who are already sending their kids to private school. You can defend that. I think that is a catastrophic decision and an immoral decision. The last two points I'll make is we hear a lot about average tuition.
You know, it's not immoral for the military family with a child that's on the spectrum that has, you know, worked through the system only to have to leave a public school where their kids are not receiving the services that they believe is in the best interest of their child. You know, I don't know if I want to wade into the morality.
I'm fine wading into the morality. I'm
Yeah.
saying to deprive the students that I used to teach on the west side of San Antonio, or students in the third ward of Houston, or students in the Rio Grande Valley, or students in small towns around the state, we're going to give it to families making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. That is immoral, at least in my morality. Yeah. Now, the point I wanted to make is that average tuition has been brought up. We need to be looking at average costs, because there's a lot more costs that go into a private school than just tuition. Tuition's a major part of it, but there's uniforms, there's transportation, there's food that normally a public school would cover. So I want us to be talking about average cost of private schools going forward, not just average tuition.
And the bill does allow for those expenditures.
Of course, yes. Yeah. But when we're talking about how much the cost is, does the voucher cover it? I wanted to make sure we're talking about cost. Last thing I want to make, and this is to my dear friend, Chairman Frank, co-chair of the James Caucus. The idea that there are superintendents or school leaders making money as a school leader, that's certainly true, but to compare that to the billionaire mega donors that are pushing this bill, I haven't seen a superintendent who gave Governor Abbott $12 million last year. But I do know that Jeff Yass, the billionaire in Pennsylvania that gave the money to pass this bill, he is connected with Odyssey, which will be applying to be one of the vendors under this bill. So I just want to make sure we're having that conversation. I'm not casting aspersions on Chairman Frank. There is concern that some of the people who have a lot more money than the superintendents pushing this bill also have connections with some organizations that will be applying to be vendors. And I want us all to investigate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right.